Captain Daniel Harris stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, watching the stars through the massive viewport. His ship floated in neutral space, waiting for the Galactic Council meeting to begin. He had been a diplomat for 15 years now, always smiling, always patient, always trying to make peace with alien species that treated humans like dirt. Maya Johnson sat at her communication station, her fingers dancing over the controls. She was young, only 28, but she had already seen enough insults to last a lifetime. Every time they met with the aliens, it was the same story. The humans were too primitive, too violent, too stupid to deserve respect. Commander Kyle Bennett stood beside the captain, his jaw tight with frustration. He had served in the fleet for 12 years, and every single day had tested his patience. The aliens called humans Deathworlders like it was a curse word. They laughed at Earth's gravity, mocked human strength, and treated every human request like a joke. The view screen flickered to life, showing the massive chamber of the Galactic Council. 7 alien species sat in their high seats, looking down at the humans like insects. At the center sat Zekthar, the representative of the Velcrin hierarchy. His species looked like tall mantis creatures with 4 arms and black eyes that showed no kindness. Ambassador Patricia Moore appeared on the human side of the screen. She was a woman in her 50s, gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, wearing her formal diplomatic uniform. She had spent 20 years trying to build bridges with the galaxy, and all she had received was disrespect. "Honored Council," Patricia began, her voice calm and professional. "I come before you today to discuss trade agreements between Earth and the Velcrin systems. We propose a fair exchange of resources that would benefit both our peoples." Zekthar made a clicking sound that the translator turned into laughter. "The mammals want to trade with us? How amusing. What could Deathworlders possibly offer that we would want?" Patricia kept her composure. "We offer rare earth metals, advanced computer technology, and agricultural products. In return, we request access to your medical databases and permission to establish trade posts in neutral zones." Another alien, a blob-like creature from the Koloth Empire, gurgled with amusement. "Your technology is primitive. Your metals are common, and your food would probably poison us. Why would we waste our time?" Daniel felt his fists clench. This was the 100th meeting like this. Every time the same insults. Every time the same rejection. But orders from Earth Command were clear. Keep trying, keep being patient, keep being kind. Maya looked up from her station, her eyes meeting the captain's. She didn't need to speak. Her expression said everything. How much longer would they have to endure this? Patricia tried again. "We are willing to negotiate terms. We understand that cultural differences exist, but surely we can find common ground." Zekthar leaned forward, his mandibles clicking together. "There is no common ground between civilized species and barbarians from a death planet. You humans come from a world with crushing gravity, deadly weather, and predators at every corner. You are violent by nature. We allow you to exist in the galaxy out of mercy, nothing more." Kyle's hand moved toward his sidearm before he caught himself. Daniel shot him a warning look. "Not here, not now." They had to follow protocol. The meeting ended the same way they always did, with the aliens dismissing the humans and laughing as the communication cut off. Patricia's face disappeared from the screen, and Daniel knew she was probably sitting in her office on the diplomatic station, wondering if any of this was worth it. "Captain," Maya said quietly, "I'm receiving an emergency transmission from Earth Command. It's classified Priority Alpha." Daniel's stomach dropped. Priority Alpha meant something terrible had happened. "Put it through to my ready room." "Kyle, you're with me." They entered the small office adjacent to the bridge, and Maya patched the transmission through. Admiral Christine Walsh appeared on the screen. Her face was pale, her eyes red like she had been crying. Daniel had never seen the Admiral cry. "Captain Harris," she said, her voice shaking, "I need you to sit down." Daniel and Kyle exchanged worried looks but remained standing. "New Haven Colony has been attacked," the Admiral continued. "The Velcrin fleet bombarded it from orbit 3 hours ago. They used plasma weapons on civilian targets. Schools, hospitals, residential areas, everything." Daniel felt the world stop spinning. New Haven was a peaceful farming colony on the edge of human space. 30,000 people lived there. Families, children, people who just wanted to grow crops and live quiet lives. "How many casualties?" Kyle asked, his voice barely a whisper. The Admiral closed her eyes. 20,000 confirmed dead. Another 8,000 injured. The colony infrastructure is 90% destroyed. They hit the emergency shelters first, then systematically destroyed everything else. Maya's voice came through the intercom, breaking protocol. "Sir, my sister lived on New Haven. She was a teacher at the elementary school." Daniel felt something break inside his chest. "Why?" he asked the Admiral. "Why would they do this?" "The Velcrin High Command issued a statement," Admiral Walsh said, her voice turning to ice. "They said it was to teach humanity its place in the galaxy, to remind us that we are tolerated, not welcomed. They called it a demonstration of power." Kyle slammed his fist on the desk. "Those murdering insects killed 20,000 civilians to make a point?" The Admiral nodded slowly. "Captain Harris, I'm sending you new orders. Encrypted, eyes only. But before I do, I need to know something. Are you ready to stop being kind?" Daniel looked at Kyle, then at the intercom where Maya was listening. He thought about 15 years of insults, 15 years of mockery, 15 years of patience. He thought about 20,000 dead humans killed for no reason except alien arrogance. "Admiral," Daniel said quietly, "what are my orders?" "Return to Earth immediately. The fleet is mobilizing. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. The United Nations has issued a declaration of war against the Velcrin hierarchy. No more diplomacy. No more patience. No more kindness." Daniel felt a cold smile cross his face. "Understood, Admiral. The horizon's edge is coming home." The transmission ended and the captain stood in silence for a long moment. Kyle waited, knowing his captain was processing everything. Finally, Daniel walked to the bridge. The crew looked up at him, seeing something different in their captain's eyes. Something harder. Something dangerous. "Maya, send a message to Earth Command. 2 words. No more." Maya typed the message, her hands steady despite the tears running down her cheeks. "Kyle, set course for Earth. Maximum speed. Tell engineering I want every ounce of power they can give me." "Yes, sir," Kyle said. "And somebody get me a list of every Velcrin military installation within 50 light-years of human space." The bridge crew moved with new purpose. No one questioned the orders. They all knew what was coming. The age of human kindness had ended. The age of human vengeance had begun. Admiral Christine Walsh walked through the halls of Earth Command headquarters, her boots echoing on the metal floors. Outside the windows, she could see the blue curve of Earth against the darkness of space. The command station orbited at 20,000 kilometers, close enough to protect the homeworld but far enough to give them reaction time. The emergency council chamber was packed. Representatives from every nation on Earth had gathered within 6 hours of the New Haven massacre. The room hummed with angry voices, people demanding action, demanding justice, demanding revenge. Christine stepped to the podium and the room fell silent. She was 60 years old, gray hair cut short with scars on her hands from her years as a combat pilot. She had commanded fleets in pirate skirmishes and defended colonies from raiders. But this was different. This was war. "Members of the United Nations Space Command," she began. 20 hours ago, the Velcrin hierarchy committed an act of genocide against human civilians. They murdered 20,000 innocent people to send us a message. I am here to tell you that we have received that message loud and clear." She pressed a button, and holographic displays filled the air above the council table. Ship designs, weapon systems, fleet formations. Technology that most of the representatives had never seen before. For the past 10 years, while we played diplomats and smiled at aliens who treated us like animals, we have been preparing. Earth's greatest minds have been building an arsenal in secret. Shipyards on Luna in the asteroid belt on the dark side of Mars. We have 347 warships ready for immediate deployment. Murmurs of shock rippled through the chamber. Even the military representatives looked surprised. The secret had been kept that well. Commander Gregory Stone stood from his seat at the tactical station. He was a big man, 2 meters tall, with the build of someone who had grown up in Earth's heavy gravity. His job had been coordinating the secret fleet construction for the past 5 years. "The Sol Defense Fleet is not like the small patrol ships the aliens have seen," Gregory explained. "Our dreadnoughts mass 5 million tons each. They carry railguns that can fire tungsten rods at 30 kilometers per second. At that speed, kinetic energy alone will vaporize enemy ships. No shields in the galaxy can stop solid matter moving that fast." He pulled up more displays. "We also have nuclear weapons, electromagnetic pulse bombs, cyber warfare systems, and atmospheric fighters that can operate in space. Our ships are built to withstand Earth gravity, which means they can pull maneuvers that would crush alien crews. A representative from Brazil raised his hand. Why did we build all this if we were pursuing peace? Christine answered. Because we are from Earth. We know that sometimes peace is only possible when you are too strong to attack. We hoped we would never need this fleet. We were wrong. She pulled up images of New Haven. The burned cities, the destroyed schools, the crater where the hospital had been. This is what happens when predators mistake kindness for weakness. The Velkrin think we are soft because we tried diplomacy. They are about to learn why humanity became the dominant species on a death planet. At the shipyards hidden behind Luna's dark side, Lieutenant Lisa Grant suited up in her flight gear. She was 26 years old, a pilot since she was 18 and one of the best in the fleet. Her squadron had been training in secret for 3 years, flying attack patterns that no alien would expect. The hangar bay of the carrier Iron Will stretched for 2 kilometers. Rows of fighters sat ready, each one painted matte black for stealth operations. The ships were small, fast, and deadly. They carried missiles, railguns, and electronic warfare packages. Lisa's wingman, a pilot named Jake Murphy, checked his equipment beside her. You ready for this? He asked. My cousin died on New Haven, Lisa said quietly. He was 6 years old. So yeah, I'm ready. They climbed into their fighters and ran through pre-flight checks. The neural interface helmets connected them directly to their ship's systems. Human reflexes were already faster than most aliens, but the neural link made them even faster. In the engineering section of the Dreadnought Vengeance, Nathan Cross supervised the final system checks. He was the chief engineer, responsible for keeping the massive warship running at peak efficiency. The Vengeance was the fleet's flagship, carrying enough firepower to level a small moon. Nathan had spent 8 years designing the ship's power systems. Human fusion reactors were more efficient than anything the aliens used, generating more energy from less fuel. It gave human ships better speed, better shields, and better weapons capacity. All systems green, his assistant called out. Reactors at 100%. Weapons charged. Shields holding steady, Nathan nodded. Good. When we hit Velkrin space, I don't want any surprises. This ship needs to run perfectly. Back at Earth Command, Christine addressed the fleet commanders through a secure channel. Hundreds of faces appeared on screens around the room, captains and admirals from every human warship. You all know why we are here, she said. The Velkrin murdered our people. They think we will file a complaint with the Galactic Council and then do nothing. They think we are weak. She paused, letting the anger in the room build. They are wrong. We tried peace for 15 years. We endured their insults. We swallowed our pride. We turned the other cheek. And they responded by killing 20,000 civilians, including children. The screens showed faces growing harder, angrier. The fleet will depart in 12 hours. Our target is the Velkrin military hub at Tharkon. Intelligence reports say they have 200 warships defending that system. They outnumber us almost 2 to 1, Christine smiled coldly. I like those odds, because they have never fought humans before. They don't know what we are capable of. They think their shields and plasma weapons make them superior. They are about to learn that kinetic energy does not care about shields. Commander Gregory Stone pulled up the battle plan. We will drop out of faster-than-light travel at the system's edge. First wave will be railgun strikes from maximum range. Hit them before they know we are there. Second wave will be our fighters, taking out their command ships. Third wave will be electronic warfare, shutting down their systems. Rules of engagement? A captain asked. Christine's face turned to stone. Military targets only. We are not them. We do not kill civilians. But any Velkrin warship, any military station, any armed installation is fair game. Show them what happens when they declare war on a species that evolved by fighting everything on their planet. 12 hours later, the Sol Defense Fleet gathered in formation above Earth. 347 warships, the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. Dreadnoughts, carriers, cruisers, destroyers, and support ships. Every vessel was ready for war. Captain Daniel Harris brought the Horizon's Edge alongside the flagship. His small diplomatic ship looked tiny next to the massive dreadnoughts, but Maya Johnson had upgraded their sensors and communication systems. They would serve as scouts and intelligence gatherers. Admiral Christine Walsh stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, looking at the fleet displayed on her screens. These were her people, her ships, her responsibility. She thought about the dead on New Haven. She thought about all the years of insults and mockery. She thought about alien arrogance. All ships, she broadcast on the fleet channel. This is Admiral Walsh. Today we stop being the galaxy's doormat. Today we show them why you do not attack Deathworlders. Today we teach the Velcrin the most important lesson they will ever learn. She paused. Humanity tried peace. They gave us war. Now they will learn what humans are truly capable of. Fleet, prepare for faster than light jump. Destination: Velcrin space. 347 human warships vanished from Earth orbit in a flash of light, leaving only defensive forces behind. They were heading to war, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the Velcrin home system, War Commander Thelvas received reports of unusual activity in human space. His analysts told him the humans were moving ships around, probably in response to the new Haven demonstration. He clicked his mandibles in amusement. Let them move their little patrol boats, he said to his officers. They are Deathworlders, primitive and stupid. They will complain to the Council, and the Council will do nothing. This matter is closed. His fleet of 400 warships continued their patrols, completely unprepared for what was coming. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Tharkon system. 347 warships appeared in perfect formation, their sensors immediately scanning for enemy positions. The Velcrin military hub orbited the system's third planet. Surrounded by defense stations and patrol ships, Admiral Christine Walsh stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, watching the tactical display update with enemy positions. The Velcrin had 212 warships in the system, along with 30 orbital defense platforms. They outnumbered the humans, but numbers were not everything. Enemy fleet is moving to intercept, Commander Gregory Stone reported. They are forming a standard defensive wall. Shields at maximum, plasma weapons charging. Christine smiled coldly. They still think this will be a normal battle. How long until they are in railgun range? 4 minutes at current speeds. Do not wait for them to get closer. Target their command ships. Fire when ready. On the Velcrin flagship, War Commander Thelvas watched the human fleet approach with amusement. The Deathworlders had actually come to fight. It was almost cute. His species had been dominating space warfare for 3,000 years. These primitive mammals would learn their lesson quickly. Their ships are crude, his tactical officer reported. No elegant curves, just blocky metal boxes. Their weapons appear to be kinetic-based. How primitive. Thelvas clicked his mandibles. Kinetic weapons against shields? They truly are stupid. Charge plasma cannons. When they get close enough, we will vaporize them. The human dreadnoughts opened fire. 12 railguns launched tungsten rods the size of telephone poles at 30 kilometers per second. The projectiles crossed the distance in less than a second. The Velcrin shields did exactly what they were designed to do. They deflected energy weapons and created barriers against plasma. But kinetic energy does not care about shields. The tungsten rods passed through the energy barriers like they were not there. When solid matter moving at 30 kilometers per second hits a starship, the kinetic energy converts to heat and force. The first rod struck the Velcrin flagship directly in the center. The ship did not explode. It simply stopped existing. One moment it was there, the next it was a cloud of superheated vapor and metal fragments. 11 more. Velcrin ships vanished in the same instant. Thelvas had exactly 3 seconds to realize what had happened before his flagship tore itself apart around him. His last thought was impossible. This could not be happening. The Velcrin fleet descended into chaos. Their commander was dead, 12 ships were gone, and the humans were still firing. More railgun rounds streaked across space, and more Velcrin ships died. Their shields were useless. Their armor was useless. Kinetic energy did not care about their technology. Reform the line, a Velcrin officer screamed. Return fire. The Velcrin ships launched plasma torpedoes, bright balls of superheated gas that streaked toward the human fleet. The human shields flickered as they absorbed the impacts, but they held. Earth's shield technology was designed to protect against asteroid impacts and solar radiation. Plasma was nothing. Launch fighters, Christine ordered calmly. The carrier Iron Will opened its bay doors and 200 human fighters poured into space. Lieutenant Lisa Grant led the first squadron, her neural interface connecting her thoughts directly to her ship's controls. The fighter responded to her will like an extension of her body. All wings, this is Grant, she broadcast. Target their command ships. Watch for point defense, but remember, they have never seen flying like ours. The human fighters accelerated at speeds that would have killed most alien pilots. 10 gravities of acceleration, 12, 15. Human bodies could handle it with the right training and equipment. Alien bodies could not. The Velcrin point defense systems tried to track the human fighters, but they were too fast, too agile. Lisa rolled her ship through a corkscrew pattern that no computer could predict because she was not following a program. She was flying on instinct, the way humans had been flying aircraft for centuries. Her targeting system locked onto a Velcrin cruiser. She fired 3 missiles and pulled away before the ship could respond. The missiles struck the cruiser's engines and the ship went dark, spinning helplessly. All around her, human fighters danced through space, destroying enemy ships with precision strikes. The Velcrin had better shields, but humans had better pilots. Jake Murphy, Lisa's wingman, took out a Velcrin destroyer by himself. "These aliens fly like they are following a manual," he shouted over the radio. "No creativity, no instinct. They are too easy." On the Vengeance, Commander Nathan Cross monitored the ship's systems. "Admiral, our shields are holding at 90%. The Velcrin weapons are not powerful enough to penetrate. Our armor is barely scratched." Gregory Stone updated the tactical display. "We have destroyed 47 enemy ships. Our casualties 0. The enemy is trying to retreat." Christine shook her head. "No retreat, no mercy. They killed civilians. Now they learn the price." She opened a channel to the fleet. "All ships weapons free. Destroy everything with a military signature. Leave no Velcrin warship operational." The human fleet moved forward like an unstoppable tide. Railguns fired continuously, each shot destroying another enemy vessel. The electromagnetic pulse weapons activated next, targeting the Velcrin ships that had survived the initial assault. Specialist Aaron Mitchell sat in the cyber warfare center of the Vengeance, his fingers dancing over holographic keyboards. His job was to hack into enemy systems and cause chaos. The Velcrin networks were sophisticated, but they had one fatal weakness. They had never faced human hackers before. "I'm in their command network," Aaron reported. "Their firewalls are good, but they are designed to stop alien intrusion methods. They have never seen Earth programming." He uploaded a virus that he had designed specifically for this mission. The code spread through the Velcrin fleet like wildfire, jumping from ship to ship through their communication links. Within 30 seconds, the virus had infected half the enemy fleet. Velcrin ships suddenly found their weapons turning off, their shields dropping, their engines cutting out. Some ships had their navigation systems inverted, sending them spinning away from the battle. Others had their life support systems shut down, forcing crews to evacuate. "What are you doing to them?" Christine asked. Aaron grinned. "I am giving them a taste of Earth creativity, Admiral. Let's see how they like fighting an enemy that does not play by their rules." The battle lasted 40 minutes. By the end, the Velcrin defense fleet was completely destroyed. Of their 212 ships, exactly 0 remained operational. 18 had managed to jump away before the humans could destroy them, but the rest were either debris or dead hulks floating in space. The human fleet had taken minor damage. 3 ships had shield failures that required repairs. 1 fighter pilot had been injured when her ship took a glancing hit. Total human casualties: 1 pilot with a broken arm. Captain Daniel Harris brought the Horizon's Edge forward to survey the battlefield. Maya Johnson scanned the wreckage, her face grim but satisfied. "Captain," she said quietly, "I'm picking up distress signals from some of the Velcrin ships. They have survivors in escape pods." Daniel looked at Admiral Walsh on the screen. "Orders, Admiral?" Christine was silent for a moment. It would be easy to leave them. They had killed 20,000 humans without mercy, but that was not who humans were. "Collect the survivors," she ordered. "Give them medical treatment." "We are not them. We do not kill the helpless." The fleet spent the next 2 hours collecting Velcrin survivors from escape pods. 3,000 alien soldiers and crew members were pulled from space and given medical care. They were terrified, having just watched their fleet get annihilated by the primitive Deathworlders. One Velcrin officer, his exoskeleton cracked and leaking fluid, stared at Lisa Grant as she helped pull him from his pod. "Why?" he asked through his translator. "Why do you help us? We killed your people." Lisa's face was hard. "Because we are better than you. We fight soldiers, not civilians. We show mercy to the defeated. That is what makes us different." Admiral Walsh broadcast a message on all frequencies, knowing the Galactic Council would be listening. "This is Admiral Christine Walsh of the Human Fleet. The Velcrin hierarchy attacked a civilian colony and murdered 20,000 humans. We have responded by destroying their military hub at Tharkon. This is not revenge. This is justice." She paused, letting her words sink in. To the Velcrin High Command. You wanted to teach us our place in the galaxy. Consider the lesson learned. But now it is your turn to learn. You attacked the wrong species. We are done being kind. We are done being patient. We are coming for you. The transmission ended, and the human fleet began moving toward Velcrin Prime. The aliens' homeworld was heavily defended, but after what happened at Tharkon, Christine knew the defenders would be terrified. Throughout the galaxy, news of the battle spread like wildfire. The other species of the Galactic Council watched the battle recordings in stunned silence. The humans, the species they had mocked as primitive Deathworlders, had just destroyed a Velcrin fleet with ridiculous ease. The Velcrin hierarchy had dominated the galaxy through military might for millennia, and the humans had beaten them in 40 minutes. The galaxy was about to learn a hard lesson. Never mistake human. Velcrin Prime hung in space like a jewel, a planet covered in towering cities and artificial structures. 10 billion Velcrin lived on the surface, the heart of their civilization and their pride. Above the planet, 500 warships and 60 orbital defense platforms stood guard. The hierarchy had called in every available military asset to defend their homeworld. High Archon Velcaris stood in the command center deep beneath the capital city, watching the defensive preparations with mandibles clicking nervously. News of the Tharkon massacre had reached him 3 days ago. The humans had destroyed 200 ships in less than an hour. It seemed impossible, but the recordings did not lie. Status of our defenses? He demanded. His military coordinator, a veteran named Sekthal, displayed the orbital formations. We have 500 ships in defensive positions. All orbital platforms are armed and operational. We have also deployed minefields at the likely entry points. The humans cannot win this battle. We outnumber them significantly. Velcaris was not convinced. They outnumbered us at Tharkon too, and they destroyed everything. But this is different, High Archon. They were fighting a surprise defense force. Here we are prepared. We know their tactics. We know their weapons. Our shields have been modified to better absorb kinetic impacts. The human fleet appeared at the edge of the system, and Velcaris felt his confidence crumble. The recordings had not captured the true menace of human warships. Their dreadnoughts were massive, angular things that looked more like weapons than ships. And there were so many of them. Admiral Christine Walsh stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, studying the Velcrin defenses. It was impressive, 500 ships and heavy fortifications. But impressive was not the same as sufficient. Open a channel to Velcrin Prime, she ordered. All frequencies. I want everyone to hear this. Maya Johnson, now serving as communications officer for the flagship, established the connection. Channel open, Admiral. Christine's face appeared on every screen across Velcrin Prime and throughout the Galactic Council's observation network. She looked calm, professional, and absolutely terrifying. This is Admiral Christine Walsh of the United Earth Fleet. I address the Velcrin High Command and the people of Velcrin Prime. 3 weeks ago, your military attacked the human colony of New Haven. You killed 20,000 civilians, including children. You did this to teach humanity its place. She paused, letting the silence stretch. We received your message. Now here is ours. We are offering terms one time and one time only. Surrender immediately. Deactivate your military forces. Turn over all personnel responsible for the New Haven attack. Pay reparations to the families of those you murdered. Accept permanent restrictions on your military capacity. Velcaris appeared on the screen, his forearms spread in what humans recognized as a defensive posture. You dare make demands of us? We are the Velcrin hierarchy. We have ruled this section of space for 3,000 years. You are primitives from a death planet and you will be crushed. Christine's expression did not change. Then you have chosen poorly. What happens next is on you. The transmission cut off and she turned to her tactical officer. Commander Stone, destroy the orbital platforms. The human fleet opened fire with devastating precision. Railguns targeted the 60 defense platforms, and within 3 minutes, all 60 were reduced to debris. The platforms had been designed to defend against energy weapons and missiles. They were helpless against solid tungsten moving at relativistic speeds. The Velcrin fleet moved to engage, launching thousands of plasma torpedoes. The human shields flickered and strained but held firm. Return fire from the human fleet was methodical and efficient. One shot, one kill. The Velcrin ships were larger, but human weapons did not care about size. Commander Gregory Stone coordinated the assault from the Vengeance's tactical center. Focus fire on their capital ships first. Take out their command structure. Make them panic. Lieutenant Lisa Grant launched from the Iron Will with her fighter squadron along with 300 other human pilots. The Velkrin had learned from Tharkon and deployed their own fighters to intercept. But Velkrin fighters were slower, less maneuverable, and piloted by aliens who had never experienced real combat stress. Lisa's neural interface let her fly her ship like it was part of her body. She rolled through incoming fire, targeted a Velkrin carrier, and launched her missiles in a single fluid motion. The carrier's hangar bay exploded and secondary explosions rippled through the ship. "This is Grant to all wings," she broadcast. "They are scared. You can see it in how they fly. Press the advantage." Jake Murphy destroyed 3 enemy fighters in rapid succession. "These guys are way too predictable. It's like they never trained for actual combat." The truth was, the Velkrin had not faced a peer enemy in centuries. They had spent generations bullying smaller species, fighting pirates and crushing rebellions. They had never fought an enemy that could match them, let alone exceed them. The human fighters tore through the Velkrin formations like sharks through fish. Every human pilot had trained for years in simulators and real combat exercises. They knew how to fly in ways that would kill most aliens. High G turns, unpredictable attack angles, split-second timing. On the Vengeance, Nathan Cross kept the ship's systems running perfectly despite continuous combat. "Admiral, shields are holding at 85%. All weapon systems operational. Reactors running hot but stable." "Good," Christine said calmly. "Activate the electromagnetic pulse weapons." Specialist Aaron Mitchell had spent the last 2 days preparing for this moment. He had analyzed the Velkrin network architecture captured from Tharkon and designed custom viruses for their specific systems. Now it was time to deploy them. Launching cyber attack, he reported, uploading viruses to their command network. The electromagnetic pulse weapons fired, massive bursts of electromagnetic energy that fried unshielded electronics. 30 Velkrin ships lost power instantly, their systems overloaded and burned out. At the same time, Aaron's viruses spread through the Velkrin communication network. Velkrin ships suddenly found their tactical displays showing false information. Enemy positions appeared in the wrong locations. Friendly ships showed as hostile. Navigation systems reported incorrect coordinates. Weapons targeting was thrown off by meters or kilometers. "What is happening?" Sekthal screamed in the command center on Velkrin Prime. "Our ships are reporting system failures across the board." Velkaris watched in horror as his fleet fell apart. Ships collided with each other because their navigation was wrong. Weapons fired at empty space because targeting was corrupted. Some ships jumped away randomly because their faster-than-light systems were malfunctioning. The human fleet pressed forward, methodically destroying every Velkrin ship that remained operational. There was no mercy, but there was also no cruelty. Each shot was clean and efficient. The humans were not torturing their enemies. They were simply removing them. Captain Daniel Harris and the Horizon's Edge moved through the battlefield, scanning for escape pods and survivors. "Maya, are you picking up any civilian transmissions from the planet?" "Negative, Captain. All civilian channels are being jammed by the Velkrin military, but I am not detecting any weapons targeting the surface. The Admiral is keeping her word. Military targets only." Over 3 days, the battle for Velkrin Prime raged. The human fleet systematically dismantled the Velkrin defenses. 500 enemy ships were reduced to less than 50, and those were damaged and fleeing. The orbital space was secured, but Admiral Walsh did not order any attacks on the planet's surface. No bombardments, no invasions, no civilian casualties. The human fleet remained in orbit, a silent threat, waiting. On the 4th day, Velkaris emerged from his bunker under a white flag of truce. He appeared on screens across the system, his mandibles trembling. "We surrender," he said, his voice broken. "The Velkrin hierarchy surrenders to the human fleet. We accept all terms." Christine appeared on the return transmission. "You will stand trial for war crimes. Every officer involved in the New Haven attack will be identified and prosecuted. Your military will be reduced to a purely defensive force. Reparations will be paid, and you will never threaten another species again." "We agree," Velkaris whispered. "One more thing," Christine added, her voice cold. "You called us Deathworlders like it was an insult. You were right. We come from a planet that tried to kill us every day. We survived by being stronger, smarter, and more adaptable than everything that wanted to eat us. You picked a fight with apex predators. Remember that. The transmission ended and human Marines boarded Velcrin Prime to take custody of the war criminals. Captain Daniel Harris led the team that arrested Velcaris personally. The High Archon did not resist. He had finally learned what humans were capable of. Throughout the galaxy, the other species of the Galactic Council watched in stunned silence. The Velcrin hierarchy, which had dominated through military might for millennia, had been defeated in less than 2 weeks. The humans had done what no other species could do, and they had done it while following rules of engagement that protected civilians and showed mercy to defeated enemies. The humans had proven they were not just strong. They were principled. The war was over, but the real work was just beginning. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from all 7 member species sat in their elevated positions, but for the first time in recorded history, no one was speaking. They were all watching the humans. Admiral Christine Walsh stood in the center of the chamber, wearing her formal military uniform. Beside her stood Ambassador Patricia Moore, who had endured 15 years of insults in this very room. Now the aliens looked at them with something between respect and fear. The council speaker, a floating jellyfish-like creature from the Ulim Collective, activated the translation matrix. The emergency session of the Galactic Council is now open. We are here to address the recent conflict between humanity and the Velcrin hierarchy. Christine stepped forward. The conflict is over. The Velcrin hierarchy has surrendered unconditionally. High Archon Velcaris and 47 senior military officers are in human custody, awaiting trial for war crimes. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Velcrin representative, a replacement named Kolvas, kept his mandibles still. His species had learned to be very quiet around humans. The representative from the Koloth Empire, the same blob creature that had mocked Patricia weeks earlier, spoke carefully. The Council acknowledges that the Velcrin attack on New Haven was illegal and unjustified. However, we must discuss the human military response. Your fleet destroyed over 700 Velcrin ships and killed thousands of their military personnel. Christine's expression remained neutral. We responded proportionally to an act of genocide. The Velcrin murdered 20,000 civilians. We destroyed military targets. We collected survivors. We gave medical treatment to enemy wounded. We protected Velcrin civilians from harm. Our conduct followed every rule of warfare that this council claims to uphold. She pulled up holographic displays showing the battles. At Tharkon and Velcrin Prime, we had multiple opportunities to bombard civilian targets. We chose not to. We could have killed billions. We chose not to. We fought only the military forces that were trying to kill us. Patricia Moore stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. For 15 years I came before this council seeking peaceful relations. For 15 years I was insulted, dismissed, and laughed at. Humanity tried diplomacy. We tried patience. We tried kindness. The Velcrin responded by committing genocide. The council speaker was silent for a long moment. What does humanity want from this council? Christine smiled, but there was no warmth in it. We want what we always wanted: respect, equal representation, fair trade agreements, and ironclad laws against attacking civilian populations. She pulled up more data. We also demand that the Galactic Council enforce its own rules. The Velcrin were allowed to bully smaller species for centuries because no one was strong enough to stop them. That ends now. Either this council maintains peace and justice, or humanity will do it ourselves. But the chamber erupted in protests. Several species representatives tried to speak at once, their translators creating a cacophony of sound. The council speaker raised a tentacle for silence. You threaten the council itself? I state facts, Christine said coldly. Earth will not tolerate another genocide. Not against humans, not against anyone. If the council cannot protect innocent species, then humanity will. We have proven we have the strength. Do not test whether we have the will. On Velcrin Prime, Captain Daniel Harris oversaw the War Crimes Tribunal. The proceedings were held in a neutral space station, with judges from 3 non-aligned species. Human military lawyers prosecuted, but the judges were aliens. Christine had insisted on that. The trials needed to be fair and seen as fair. High Archon Velcaris sat in a containment field, his mandibles clicking nervously. Commander Kyle Bennett stood as one of the prosecutors, presenting evidence of the New Haven attack. The defendant ordered the orbital bombardment of a civilian colony, Kyle stated, displaying communications logs. He specifically targeted schools, hospitals, and emergency shelters. The attack was designed to maximize civilian casualties. Velcaris's defense attorney, a human lawyer named Sarah Brooks who had volunteered to represent him, tried to argue diminished capacity. My client believed he was following Velcran military tradition. Their culture does not distinguish between military and civilian targets. Kyle shook his head. The Velcran are members of the Galactic Council. They signed treaties prohibiting attacks on civilian populations. Ignorance of the law is not a defense when you helped write that law. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Evidence was presented carefully and thoroughly. Every victim was named. Every attack pattern was analyzed. The judges, despite being aliens, could not ignore the facts. Velcaris was found guilty of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against sentience. The sentence was life imprisonment in a maximum security facility. 47 other Velcran officers received similar sentences. The Velcran military was formally disbanded, with only a small defensive force allowed. Lieutenant Lisa Grant returned to Earth as a hero. Parades were held in major cities celebrating the fleet's victory. But Lisa did not feel like celebrating. She visited the memorial wall at New Haven Colony, now rebuilt with human and alien aid. The wall stretched for 100 meters, covered in names. 20,000 people who had died for nothing more than alien arrogance. Lisa found her cousin's name, Tommy Grant, age 6. She placed her hand on the engraved letters and cried. Nathan Cross, now promoted to Chief Engineer of the Sol Defense Command, worked on the next generation of human warships. The war had proven that human technology was superior, but he knew they could not become complacent. Other species would study human tactics and adapt. We need to stay ahead, he told his engineering team. The galaxy knows we are strong now. Some will respect that. Others will fear it. And a few will see us as a threat that needs to be eliminated. His assistant asked, "Do you think we will face another war?" Nathan shook his head. "I think we just prevented 100 wars. The galaxy needed someone to stand up to bullies like the Velcran. Now they know humans will do it." Commander Gregory Stone was promoted to Admiral and given command of the Second Fleet, a new formation designed to patrol former Velcran territory. His job was to keep the peace and protect the smaller species that had lived under Velcran oppression. He visited several of those species, offering human protection and fair trade agreements. Many accepted immediately. They had watched the war and seen how humans fought. Strong enough to destroy but disciplined enough to show mercy. The representative from the Koloth Empire requested a private meeting with Ambassador Patricia Moore. The blob creature that had once mocked her now approached with obvious nervousness. "Ambassador Moore," he said through his translator, "I owe you an apology. My species, like the Velcran, treated humanity with contempt. We were wrong. We mistook your patience for weakness." Patricia studied him carefully. "Apologies are words. What actions will accompany them?" "The Koloth Empire wishes to establish formal trade relations with Earth. Fair terms, mutual respect. We also wish to share our medical technology. We understand humans suffered casualties at New Haven. Perhaps our knowledge can help." Patricia nodded slowly. "We will consider your offer. But understand this. The age of treating humans as inferior is over. We will accept partnership, but never subordination." 6 months after the war ended, the Galactic Council voted on new regulations. Attacks on civilian populations were made a capital crime, prosecutable by any member species. A new enforcement division was created, with human ships comprising half the force. Captain Daniel Harris was promoted to Commodore and given command of the enforcement fleet. His job was to investigate reports of war crimes and protect vulnerable species. The Horizon's Edge was retired and placed in a museum, replaced by a new ship called the Justice. Maya Johnson served as his communications officer, now wearing the insignia of a lieutenant commander. She had lost her sister at New Haven, but she found purpose in preventing other families from suffering the same loss. On the anniversary of the New Haven attack, a memorial service was held at the rebuilt colony. Representatives from 30 alien species attended, paying their respects to the human dead. Even the Velcrin sent a delegation, though they stood at the back and said nothing. Commodore Harris gave a speech in front of the memorial wall, with thousands of humans and aliens listening. 20,000 people died here because someone decided that might makes right, he began. They died because the strong believed they could attack the weak without consequences. They died because the galaxy had forgotten that justice requires strength. He paused, looking at the names on the wall. But their deaths were not meaningless. Because of them, the galaxy changed. Bullies learned that victims can fight back. The weak learned that someone will stand up for them. And humanity learned that sometimes being kind means being willing to stop being kind. The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. We did not want war. We tried peace for 15 years. But when peace failed, we showed the galaxy what humans are truly capable of. We are not the strongest species. We are not the smartest. We are not the oldest. But we are the ones who will stand between the innocent and those who would harm them. He turned to face the alien representatives. To the species watching, understand this. Humanity offers friendship to all who approach in good faith. 5 years had passed since the war ended. The galaxy looked very different now. Human ships patrolled the trade routes, protecting merchant vessels from pirates and raiders. Human diplomats sat in positions of authority on the Galactic Council, and the name Deathworlder had changed from an insult to a compliment. Admiral Christine Walsh stood in her office at Earth Command, looking at reports from across known space. The Sol Defense Fleet had grown to over 1,000 ships, with new vessels launching every month. But more importantly, humanity had allies now. Real allies, not the fake politeness they had endured before the war. Commander Gregory Stone, now wearing the uniform of a full admiral, entered her office with a data pad. Morning briefing, Admiral. The patrol reports from former Velcrin space are all green. No incidents, no conflicts. The Velcrin are keeping to the terms of surrender. Christine nodded. Good, what about the Koloth situation? The Koloth Empire has fully integrated into the human trade network. Their medical technology has saved thousands of lives across 3 species. In return, we have shared our agricultural methods. Their colony worlds are producing twice the food they were 5 years ago. Gregory pulled up more data. The Ulim Collective has requested human assistance with a pirate problem in their outer systems. Nothing major, just some raiders hitting mining operations. Send the 4th Fleet, Christine said. Make it clear we are there to help, not to conquer. The last thing we need is for species to think we are replacing the Velcrin as the galaxy's bully. On the rebuilt New Haven colony, life had returned to something resembling normal. The population had grown back to 40,000, with new settlers arriving from Earth every month. Lieutenant Maya Johnson, now retired from active military service, taught at the new school built where the old one had been destroyed. Her students were human children, but also aliens. Koloth youngsters learning to read human languages. Ulim spawns studying Earth history. Even a few young Velcrin, whose parents wanted them to understand what their species had done wrong. Maya stood in front of her class, teaching a lesson about the war. Can anyone tell me why the war started? She asked. A human boy raised his hand. Because the Velcrin attacked New Haven and killed a lot of people. That's when it started, Maya corrected gently. But why did they attack? A Velcrin student, barely old enough to speak clearly, raised one of his small arms. Because my people thought they were better than everyone else. They thought being strong meant they could hurt others. Maya smiled sadly. That's right. Your people learned a hard lesson. Strength without wisdom is just violence. And violence always has consequences. She pulled up images of the memorial wall. 20,000 humans died here. But their deaths changed the galaxy. Before the war, the strong bullied the weak and nothing happened. After the war, the strong learned that bullying has a price. A Koloth student gurgled a question. Are humans the strongest species now? Maya considered the question carefully. Humans have strong ships and good weapons. But that is not what makes us powerful. What makes us powerful is that we use our strength to protect others, not hurt them. That is the lesson we want the galaxy to learn. Captain Daniel Harris, now Commodore and commanding the Justice, patrolled the neutral zones between species territories. His ship had responded to dozens of distress calls over the past 5 years. Pirates, smugglers, slavers, all had learned to fear human intervention. His current mission was escorting a convoy of Velcrin merchant ships through a dangerous asteroid field. The Velcrin captain had been nervous about accepting human protection, but business was business. "Commodore," Kyle Bennett said from the tactical station, picking up 3 unidentified ships hiding in the asteroid field. Signatures matched known pirate vessels. Daniel opened a channel to the pirate ships. "Attention unidentified vessels. This convoy is under the protection of the human fleet. Stand down and depart the area immediately or we will consider you hostile." There was a long pause. 5 years ago, pirates might have laughed at such a warning, but everyone knew about human capabilities now. Everyone had seen the recordings from Tharkon and Velcrin Prime. The pirate ships turned and fled without firing a shot. The Velcrin merchant captain contacted the Justice. "Thank you, Commodore Harris. I admit my crew was uncomfortable with human protection. We remember what your fleet did to our military." Daniel's response was diplomatic but firm. "Your military attacked civilians. We responded appropriately. You are merchants, not soldiers. You have nothing to fear from us as long as you operate legally." "I understand that now," the Velcrin captain said. "My daughter studies on New Haven in one of your schools. She tells me about the memorial wall, about the names. I am ashamed of what my species did." "Shame is good," Daniel replied. "Shame means you learned. Just make sure the next generation does not repeat your mistakes." Lieutenant Lisa Grant had become an instructor at the new Human Space Force Academy. She taught advanced combat flying to pilots from Earth and allied species. Her reputation as one of the war's heroes made her classes highly sought after. She stood in the simulator room, watching a mixed group of human and alien students run through combat scenarios. A young pilot named Tony Martinez was flying against a Koloth student in a mock dogfight. "Tony, you are being too predictable," Lisa called out. "The Koloth can see your patterns. Change it up. Humans are supposed to be creative." Tony rolled his fighter through a complex maneuver that made the Koloth student lose tracking. "How was that, Lieutenant?" "Better. Remember, you can handle G-forces that would kill most aliens. Use that advantage. But also remember that different species have different advantages. The Koloth see in a wider spectrum than we do. They can track you in ways that normal sensors cannot." After the training session ended, a group of students approached Lisa with questions. Among them was a young Velcrin pilot named Texar. "Lieutenant Grant," he said nervously, "I have a question about the Battle of Tharkon. The recordings show human fighters performing maneuvers that our instructors say are impossible. How did you survive those G-forces?" Lisa smiled. "Training. Human bodies are built for high gravity because we evolved on a heavy world. But it is more than that. We train constantly, pushing our limits. And we have something your pilots did not have 5 years ago. What is that? We fight to protect, not to dominate. When you are defending innocent lives, you find strength you did not know you had. When you're just bullying someone weaker, you get lazy." Texar was quiet for a moment. "My uncle died at Tharkon. He was on one of the ships your squadron destroyed." Lisa's expression softened. "I'm sorry for your loss. War is terrible even when it is necessary." "He would have killed you if he could," Texar said. "You had every right to destroy his ship." "That does not make it less sad," Lisa replied. "Your uncle was following orders from leaders who made terrible choices. That does not mean his death was meaningless. It meant something because it taught the galaxy that actions have consequences." Nathan Cross had become one of the most influential people in human space. His engineering designs were used in every new ship, every new station, every new colony. But his greatest achievement was the technology sharing program he had established with allied species. He stood in a conference room with engineers from 5 different species, discussing a joint project to build a new type of space station. The design incorporated human structural engineering, Koloth life support systems, Ulim power generation, and contributions from other species. "The key is integration," Nathan explained, pointing at holographic blueprints. "We each have strengths. Humans build tough structures. Koloth understand biology. Ulim generate efficient power. Together, we can build something better than any of us could alone." A Velcrin engineer raised a claw. "Human methods are very different from ours. Your species approaches problems with what we call brute force. You build things strong enough to survive anything rather than avoiding problems. Nathan grinned. That's because we come from a planet that is constantly trying to kill us. When you evolve dodging hurricanes, earthquakes, and predators, you learn to build things that last. But we are learning from you too. Velcrin shield technology is more elegant than ours. We are incorporating your designs into our next generation of ships. The conference continued for hours, with species that had been enemies 5 years ago working together as colleagues. It was not always easy. Cultural differences caused misunderstandings. But everyone was trying, and that was what mattered. Ambassador Patricia Moore had become the head of the Human Diplomatic Corps, managing relationships with dozens of alien species. She sat in her office reviewing trade agreements and cultural exchange programs. The work never ended, but it was satisfying in ways her old job had never been. Her assistant brought in a visitor, a young diplomat named Helen Carter who had just been assigned to the Velcrin embassy. Ambassador Moore, Helen said nervously, I wanted to ask your advice before I take my new post. How do you work with a species that committed genocide against our people? Patricia gestured for her to sit. With patience, firmness, and memory. The Velcrin as a whole are not evil. They were led by evil leaders who told them that might makes right. Most Velcrin civilians had no idea what their military was doing.